all the YouTubes. Recently got this awesome Chessie SD50 at a train show. Isn't it great? Now, it was DC when I got it, and now it's DCC, and I can't even remember adding the chip. However, when I run it, I noticed the headlights aren't working, so I've got a feeling I didn't wire up the lights. So we are going to crack into this, wire up the lights front and back, and also might even add some marker lights in the nose if I can be bothered. I think it'd be worth it. Right, let's go on. Now, I think the only thing holding the body on to the chassis is the couplers, so let's whip them off. Let's see if I was correct. Oh, fuel tank comes off. And the whole chassis comes away from the body. Perfect. Okay, so that is standard wiring in there. So I did put in a brand new decoder, but it obviously does not like these lights that are in there. It's possible that I need to replace the bulbs with LED bulbs. So what I can do, before I glue bulbs everywhere, I can dig out a couple of LEDs, swap them out for these ones, and we will see if it does in fact work with this circuit board. Otherwise I might have to just replace this board and hardwire everything. Okie dokie, let me grab some bulbs and start dismantling. Now what I have noticed is there seems to be two sets of bulbs going to the headlight on the top. I mean there is two little bulbs there, you can just see. It just seems an awful lot of wiring for two tiny little bulbs, but hey, if that's the way they want to play it. So what we'll do is, first thing I'll do, these connections here are the positive and negative for the front headlight. Okay, so let's start by removing these wires and testing the bulbs first of all to see if we've blown them, and then we will know if it's worth carrying on with this circuit board. So these have got those annoying little slidey clips that you know I hate. They do their job until they don't do their job, and then you end up just soldering them in place. Okay, right. So that's my two sets of wires there. Let's unravel, because I believe that I've got a positive. What have they done here? What have they done? Yeah, you've got a positive and a negative twisted together on each one, I think. Anyway, we'll take them apart. We only need to test one at the moment. And I will use, first of all, I will use a little 3-volt battery in case they are LEDs. Yeah, because if these two wires are twisted together and going to the same place, then they must both be either positive or negative. And likewise with the other two. If they're both twisted together, then they both must be either positive or negative. So we just need to try one of each. The battery terminals. We'll see if we get any light out the nose. Right, let me find a little 3-volt battery first of all. There's my little 3-volt battery. One wire there. I'm going to have to try both of these though, because I don't know which is which, because they're all twisted together. Oh look, we have a light. I was not expecting that suddenly to light up. So the lights are working, but the connection from the chip to those connections there doesn't seem to be doing anything. I wonder if I was to wire these up slightly differently. Let's see. Let me think about that. See in a second when my brain kicks in. Okay, I think I know what's happening. I don't think this particular circuit board was designed to have this decoder which has built-in resistors. So what I'm saying is the resistors are possibly already on the circuit board, and it was designed for a decoder that didn't have resistors, therefore there would be more power coming from the decoder into the circuit board and to the light. So at the moment I think we've doubled up on the resistors, and it's just not getting enough power to those little connections there to light up my headlights. So what are our choices then? To be honest, I'm thinking the only actual choice I've got is to cut the light wires coming from the decoder and wire them straight to the bulbs, because there's no decoders on these wires at all, so it must all be in the circuit board. Okay, I've decided I am going to snip the wires from the decoder into the circuit board. I think it's my only option, to be honest. Either that or I can't use the circuit board at all because it's got built-in resistors. At least that's my theory. So let's get with the snipping, rewiring. We'll do one bulb at a time. Well, we'll do the two. We'll do the front first, make sure that works, and then we'll do the back if it works, okay? I might as well put these little covers back on so we don't have any bare connections floating about, because we're not going to be using them again. At least I don't think so. Okay, let me run through the wires with you in case you don't know what they all are. Start at this side. Green wire is your accessory light negative, and likewise the purple wire at the other side is also an accessory light negative. So those two wires, I might use them for my classification lights, I suppose, or marker lights if I decide to wire them up. But generally speaking, you don't need those two outer wires. So let's snip them for now. Get them out the way. Not too short. Well, as long as I can leave them, because we do want to be able to use them. Possibly. Right, moving along. The red wire is the power pickup from the right hand side of the locomotive. So this red wire is collecting the power from the front right and the rear right. That goes from the rails into the decoder, and then it spits it back out once it's done its magic through the orange wire, which is right next to it, and the orange wire goes to the positive of the motor. Okay, so those ones are fairly, they kind of loop, goes in, comes back out the orange. Blue wire, oh by the way I'm not cutting these obviously because these connections seem to be working fine for the power pickup. Blue wire is called a common positive, and this actually feeds the power, or the positive power, to all the lights that you've got, whether that be the front and the rear or these accessory lights. They all take a feed from that blue wire. So I will be cutting that, because this blue wire is power coming out of the decoder, not going in. Okay, that's our blue wire cut. White wire is your front headlight negative, which again, we're not using a board for that, so I'm going to cut that. Yellow wire is next. Yellow wire is your rear light, or rear headlight negative. Again, we're not using the board for that, so I'm going to cut that. And the remaining two wires, you might have guessed by the power of deduction. The black wire is the left rail pickup coming from the front left and the rear left. This wire here goes into the decoder, does its magic, spits it out through the grey wire into the negative of the motor. So we're keeping them. So we're keeping four of the wires, the power in and the power out, on the circuit board because it was working absolutely fine. It was running great. So it's just these extra 5 wires, potentially just 3 wires that we're going to be playing with. Okay. So let's start with the blue wire. That's going to get connected to any positive wires for the bulbs. Right, I need to take care of that because I've unravelled all these and I need to re-ravel them, if that's the term. Now I am a little concerned that these bulbs might not work, because I tested the battery either way round and the bulbs worked, which means they are incandescent bulbs. If they were LEDs, they would only work one way round on the battery, as in positive negative of the battery. And I'm just concerned that the decoder is only going to send out the signal one way, and I don't know, maybe the worst case scenario, the lights will stay on forward and reverse You know, they're not going to be directional headlights. Not too bothered about that, because we can always use those marker lights or classification lights and make them forward and reverse, or at least they would go off when it was going backwards. Right, before I continue then, let me just hook up this little 3-volt battery again. And as I say, either way around, the battery and the bulbs should both be lit up. And they are. As you can see, if I just focus for you. Yeah. So just to confirm then, if I swap these connections around the other way, that one to there and that one to there, if these are incandescent bulbs, then they should still be on. And indeed, they are. So as I say, a wee bit concerned that if I plug this or wire these connections up to my decoder, then the signal might be wrong and it might not work. We'll give it a shot though. So one of these, either of these ones, can go to the blue, and the other one will go to the white, because we did already establish that the white is the front headlight negative. Right, let me strip them back a wee bit, solder them on temporarily, and then take it to the track. Well, someone accidentally hit the stop recording button. Anyway, I've got it soldered together. Now, even though this is temporary, I don't like bare wires hanging about, so I do have a couple of bits of heat shrink over those wires. I can always cut them, pull the heat shrink off, because I will need to rewire the blue wire for the rear lights as well. Anyway, let's get it over to the track and see if it works, shall we? So this may work, or it may blow the bulbs. Hopefully, it'll just work. Right, let's give it some power. DC power. Plug in 8636 is the local number. Make sure it still goes forward. It does. Still goes backwards. It does. Okay, let's try some lights. Headlight, please. Okay, we don't have a headlight. Let's try changing direction in case I've done something weird. Nope, no lights. That's unfortunate. So I don't think those little bulbs are going to do the job, which is a shame. Okay, back to the bench. Okay, I'm not exactly heartbroken because those little bulbs they're a wee bit on the dim side, and I've got lots of nice new LEDs. I've got soft white and I've got bright white. Haven't decided which I'm going to use yet. I do prefer the bright white, so probably go with that. Okay, let's get started. So we can just remove all those black wires and bulbs. Oh, these handrails are so fragile on this, you've got to be so careful. Okay, we are removing those black wires, so we can just snip them off. And I've snipped the blue one off as well. I need to snip them all off, but hopefully I can just pull off this heat shrink, and I do have a bit of wire left there for the next stage. Lovely. And the rear bulbs as well. Remove those little clips. Remove those wires, and we can work on the frame separately, but I will put those little clips back on just to cover up those little bare connections. Seem to, oh, there it is. These little pesky dudes, and that will keep them safe from random wires floating about. Now you might notice there's two wires at the front here. This wire here is the right rail pickup going in there. That one is the left rail pickup going in that side. This one here is a right rail rear pickup, but there isn't one there. That is because the left pickup is actually coming from the chassis, which is this screw here, so it only needs that one connection there. That chassis is connected to all the wheels on the left hand side, both front and back, so that's why there's only two wires at the front, sorry, there's only one wire at the back, two wires at the front. Okay, let's continue. We can move this out of the way for now and get started with our body and get some new bulbs fitted. Might be a little bit tricky removing the old bulbs because they look like they are glued in way down there. I don't know what sort of glue, it might just be hot glue. Oh, interesting. So, it actually uses the bulbs here for the lenses, which is kind of annoying. I'm going to have to somehow replicate these little bulb lens things. Those little bulbs there are what normally sticks through the front of the roof there, creating the lenses. So it's not the end of the world. I might be able to recreate the lenses just with a blob of glue, blob of super glue in there. We'll deal with that when we get to it. Same with the back, looks like it's also glued in. Again, two bulbs because there's two annoying little lenses at the back. They're going to be the same, I'm sure. When I pull them out, it's going to be holes instead of lenses. Yes, like so. They can come out, not using them, which is a shame. The good news is the LEDs I've got are absolutely tiny, so I might be able to just push them in there, a blob of super glue to seal them up, and hopefully it will look just fine. Okay, let me get ahead with, or go ahead and install all my bulbs, and I'll see you when we're ready to wire it up to that. Okay? Okay, see you in a bit. Well, that's my front and rear headlights all glued in place. Got the wires dangling out the bottom, ready to be attached to the decoder. However, I have decided I am going to go ahead with wiring up a couple of bulbs at the very front there, which is kind of hard because there aren't holes yet, so we need to make some holes. This will be a little bit tricky because these sections here are actually convex. They stick out. They're kind of bowl shaped to simulate lights, so I can't just drill straight away or I'll end up making a gigantic hole in the front of the loco. So I've got a pin here, one of those T-pins, and I'm going to try and create at least a starting point for a drill to go in. Wiggle wiggle, twist and push. The next stage, ideally, I should be using one of those hand drills, which I have somewhere because Greg sent me one, Greg Dean. Searched for the last hour through all my stuff and I cannot find it, of course. So I'll be using my little Dremel tool. I'll try and be as careful as possible. Well, I will be as careful as possible. Oh my goodness, this one's very round. Come on, come on. Take your time. Find the center. Okay, got it. Wiggle, wiggle. Twisty push. As I say, this is really just a starting point for the drill, otherwise I'll make a gigantic mess. Right, hopefully that is enough. Here's my little drill bit. It's the smallest one I've got. Wish me luck. I think that'll be okay. I would like to be able to drill really slowly, but this thing doesn't go very slow, so I just need to be really careful. What I'll maybe do is start with it in its locating hole. Oh, here we go, here we go. Let's just go for it. Nope, that didn't work. Nope, 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 nope. Oh, I know what I can do. I can use this manually to get it started, right? Oh goodness, like that kind of deal. Oh, it's still spinning out. Nope, I need to try and get the hole a bit more receptive. Right, let's try it this time. Gotcha. Lovely, not too much damage. Right, let's try the other side. I like that technique. You got to hold it with 2 fingers to stabilize it, like so. Perfect. That doesn't look too bad. I'm happy with that. Could have been a lot worse. Cool. I just need to dig out a couple of lights, shove them in the holes, glue them in. But here's the thing, I'm not going to use white lights. I'm going to use red lights. Why not? I do have red lights on another couple of locos that have got those classification lights, and they look pretty cool. Probably supposed to only use them when they go backwards, but that's fine. I can switch them on when they go backwards because the top light will be off anyway. So either way, it's going to look cool. So I'll get them glued in place and then we can do the final wiring, okay? We are ready for the final wiring. So I have all my positives from all the LEDs soldered together to make life a bit easier, which leaves me with 4 negative wires. So that's 5 in total, so I should have 5 wires here. We've got purple, we've got the green, we've got the blue, white and yellow, so 5 for 5. The common positive is the blue, so all of those red wires go on the blue one. Front headlight negative, which are bundled together with this one, they will go on the white wire. Rear headlight negative, which are also bundled together because there's 2 of them, remember, they will go on the yellow wire. And the other 2 wires are the classification lights, so I've got 2 negatives. So they can work as one set, if you like. They can both be on, or they can flash, because why not? So one of them will go on the purple, one of them will go on the green. Doesn't matter which way around they go, because as I say, they will both be on together unless they're flashing. Right, let me get on with that and we'll be done, and I'm not going to forget my heat shrink tubing. Okay, we're nearly there. And that is all our wiring complete. Hopefully it'll work perfectly. Might need to just tidy up this wiring just with a bit of tape, but for now I just want to see if it works. So let me get the cover back on and I'll see you at the track. The moment I've all been waiting for. Right, do we still have power forward? Yes we do. And power backwards please. Lovely. Time to test the lights. So, give me a headlight please. Oh yes. Lovely. Still works when I go forward. Does it work when I reverse? Backlight should come on. Yes, we have a backlight. Now, do my classification lights work? I might need to set these up in the CV settings, otherwise it should be button number 1. Oh, we only have 1 on, unless I hold number 2. So I do need to change my CV settings. Actually, I'll just do it now, it's fairly easy. I just go to Program Main, Loco 8636, CV8, and then a value of 10. And that should make it work. So button number 1 should switch them both on. Yes. And button 2 should make them flash. Excellent. Excellent. Off you go then. Fully lit up. Love it. Now, I know those classification lights are not exactly prototypical, but the good news is, I don't care. I think they look cool. It's my layout, my rules. Thank you very much for watching. I am going to make a nice big Chessie train set to go around the track for a victory lap. That turned out better than I expected. Hey, I didn't destroy it. See you all very soon. Bye for now.